My brothers and sisters, let me tell you something. One of the greatest battles you will ever fight is not against what's in front of you, but against the people who try to pull you down. Oh, yes. Some of you have been losing sleep, losing joy, losing your sense of self, all because of toxic people who were never meant to have access to your soul in the first place. Smart people understand that toxicity does not always come with a warning label. It often disguises itself in charm, flattery, or even false concern. Toxic people can present themselves as friends, mentors, or even loved ones, but their actions reveal their true nature over time. The wise do not ignore the early warning signs, because they know that what they tolerate today will dominate them tomorrow. One of the first signs of toxicity is a pattern of manipulation. These individuals twist words, distort facts, and make others feel guilty for setting boundaries. They shift blame, making themselves the victim while painting others as the problem. A smart person does not get caught up in this game. They recognize when conversations always seem to turn in favor of the toxic individual, when apologies are one-sided, and when expectations are always placed on them without reciprocation. Another clear indication is how a person handles conflict. Toxic people thrive on drama and discord. They stir up strife, instigate arguments, and feed off negativity. They rarely take responsibility for their actions and often turn small issues into full-blown crises. They are quick to anger but slow to forgive. The wise see these behaviors for what they are and understand that constant turmoil is not a requirement for relationships, it is a warning sign. Toxicity also reveals itself in a person's consistency or lack thereof. A smart individual does not just listen to words, they observe patterns. Someone who is kind today but cruel tomorrow, supportive in public but destructive in private, is not someone to be trusted. When a person's words and actions do not align, it is a sign that something is off. Wise people do not allow the occasional good deed to blind them from a consistent pattern of harmful behavior. Another key indicator is how a person reacts to another's success. A toxic individual struggles to celebrate others. They minimize achievements, offer backhanded compliments, or shift the conversation back to themselves. Their support comes with conditions, and their encouragement is laced with envy. The wise recognize that true friends uplift, but toxic people undermine. They pay attention to how someone treats them in moments of progress, and understand that jealousy left unchecked will eventually manifest as sabotage. Finally, toxic people drain energy rather than replenish it. Conversations with them leave others feeling exhausted instead of encouraged. They bring complaints but no solutions, criticism but no encouragement. They always need something but rarely give anything in return. The wise know that healthy relationships are built on mutual edification, not emotional depletion. They recognize when someone's presence is taking more than it is giving, and they make decisions accordingly. Recognition is the first step to preservation. The smart do not allow their kindness to make them blind, and they do not let sentimentality override discernment. They see the signs for what they are and refuse to remain in cycles that were never meant to be sustained. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are gates to protect what is valuable. Smart people understand that if they do not set the standard for how they are treated, someone else will. They are not afraid to draw the line because they know that peace is the product of discipline, not mere desire. Boundaries are not just about keeping toxic people at a distance. They are about maintaining clarity, strength, and self-respect. Toxic people thrive in environments where there are no limits. They push, they pull, they take, and they drain because that is what they do. They test to see how much a person will tolerate, how much space they can invade, how much guilt they can use to manipulate. But the wise do not engage in these games. They establish firm lines and enforce them regardless of the backlash. A smart person knows that boundaries must be communicated with clarity. There is no room for vague statements or half-hearted restrictions. When they say no, they mean it. When they step away, they do not leave doors open for manipulation to pull them back. They understand that indecision invites confusion, and confusion is the enemy of peace. They do not explain or defend their right to have boundaries. They set them and move forward with confidence. Toxic people will always test limits. They will challenge boundaries, twist words, and attempt to make others feel guilty for standing firm. They will say, "You've changed," when in reality, the person has simply grown. They will say, "You're being too harsh," when in reality, they are upset that they can no longer control the situation. But smart people do not fall for these traps. They recognize that resistance is a sign that their boundaries are working. The pushback from toxic individuals is not a reason to lower the standard, but a confirmation that it was needed in the first place. Boundaries are not just about saying no, they are about enforcing consequences. A line without enforcement is just a suggestion. Toxic people do not respect words, they respond to actions. The wise know that if they say they will not tolerate disrespect, they must be willing to walk away when it happens. If they say they need space, they must follow through when that space is invaded. A boundary that is not upheld is an invitation for continued toxicity. The ability to set boundaries is not rooted in arrogance, but in self-awareness. It is not a rejection of others, but an affirmation of self-worth. Smart people do not waste time trying to explain their value to those who refuse to see it. They do not negotiate their well-being or debate their right to peace. They understand that boundaries are not just about keeping harmful people out, but about ensuring that the right people can come in. Those who respect, honor, and reciprocate the energy they bring. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of control. Smart people understand that drama is a distraction, a thief of focus, and a weapon used by toxic individuals to keep others entangled in chaos. They do not waste their energy on unnecessary battles or allow themselves to be pulled into conflicts that serve no purpose. Instead, they make an intentional decision to choose peace, not because they are weak, but because they are wise. Toxic people thrive in environments of disorder. They create confusion, stir up division, and manipulate situations to keep others emotionally off balance. They provoke, accuse, and instigate because they feed off reactions. They want a response. They want an argument. They want proof that they still have power over emotions. But the wise do not give them what they want. They recognize the trap and refuse to engage. They understand that every reaction is an investment, and they refuse to invest in what does not bring them growth. Choosing peace means refusing to fight unnecessary battles. It means discerning when a response is necessary and when silence is the strongest answer. Not every insult requires a rebuttal. Not every attack deserves attention. Smart people know that responding to foolishness only gives it legitimacy. They do not allow their emotions to be controlled by those who thrive on conflict. They understand that the real victory is not in proving a point, but in maintaining their inner stability. Peace is not passivity. It is not allowing toxic behavior to go unchecked or tolerating mistreatment. It is about knowing when to address a situation and when to walk away. Smart people do not waste their words on those who refuse to understand. They do not waste their time arguing with those who twist the truth. They confront when necessary, but they do not dwell in negativity. They address the issue, set the boundary, and move forward. A person's energy is their greatest resource, and toxic people seek to drain it. They create conflicts that lead nowhere, engage in arguments that have no resolution, and replay the same cycles over and over again. But the wise recognize the pattern and refuse to participate. They do not engage in emotional tug-of-war with those who are committed to misunderstanding them. They do not let someone else's dysfunction dictate their mood, their mindset, or their movement. Choosing peace requires strength. It takes more discipline to walk away from an argument than to win it. It takes more control to remain calm in the face of provocation than to react impulsively. It takes more wisdom to disengage than to fight for the approval of those who thrive on discontent. Smart people understand that their destiny is too valuable to be compromised by unnecessary conflict. They refuse to be sidetracked by distractions and instead focus their energy on growth, purpose, and forward movement. Peace is not just a desire, it is a decision, and the wise make it daily. There is a difference between reacting and responding, and smart people understand that distinction well. A reaction is impulsive, emotional, and often destructive, while a response is full, measured, and intentional. When faced with toxicity, the unwise react. They lash out. They argue, they allow the situation to dictate their behavior. But the wise take a step back. They assess, they think, they choose their words and actions carefully because they refuse to let someone else's dysfunction pull them out of character. Toxic people are experts at triggering reactions. They push buttons, provoke emotions, and create situations designed to make others lose control. They want anger, they want frustration, they want proof that they still have influence over a person's emotions. But smart people recognize this strategy and refuse to fall for it. They do not allow a toxic person to manipulate their mood or dictate their behavior. Instead, they pause, breathe, and respond in a way that maintains their dignity and peace. A reaction is driven by emotion, but a response is driven by wisdom. Reacting means allowing frustration, anger, or fear to take control. It means speaking before thinking, acting before considering the consequences. But responding means choosing words and actions that align with long-term goals rather than short-term emotions. Smart people understand that not every situation requires an immediate answer. Sometimes the best response is silence. Sometimes the best action is to walk away, and sometimes the most powerful move is to refuse to engage at all. Toxic individuals thrive in environments where emotions run high. They use conflict as a tool to create chaos. They want others to be as unstable as they are, so they provoke, manipulate, and gaslight in an attempt to pull others into their storm. But the wise do not fight storms, they rise above them. They do not allow themselves to be controlled by the words or actions of someone who is operating out of dysfunction. They refuse to allow their peace to be compromised by someone else's toxicity. Responding rather than reacting also means setting the pace of the conversation. A toxic person may try to escalate a situation, turning small disagreements into major confrontations. But the wise understand that they do not have to match the energy of the person in front of them. Just because someone raises their voice does not mean they must do the same. Just because someone speaks in anger does not mean they have to respond in frustration. They choose to set the tone rather than allowing someone else's emotions to dictate the direction of the interaction. Self-betrayal is a sign of strength, not weakness. It takes more power to stay composed in the face of provocation than to retaliate in the heat of the moment. Smart people do not let toxic individuals pull them into unnecessary conflict. Instead, they master their emotions, guard their peace, and handle every situation with wisdom, grace, and authority. Walking away from toxic people is one thing. Doing it without carrying bitterness is another. Smart people understand that detachment is necessary, but they also know that holding on to resentment only extends the damage. They refuse to let the weight of past hurt poison their future. Instead of staying bound by anger, they choose to release, heal, and move forward with a clear heart and a focused mind. Toxic people thrive on emotional attachment. They want to linger in a person's thoughts even after they are gone. They manipulate, guilt trip, and leave wounds that keep others reliving the pain long after the relationship has ended. But the wise recognize this trap. They understand that true detachment is not just physical distance, it is emotional freedom. It is choosing to no longer allow the past to dictate the present. Bitterness is a silent thief. It does not just affect the person it is aimed at, it corrupts the one who holds it. Smart people understand that carrying resentment only gives the toxic person continued power. If every thought is still consumed with what they did, how they treated them, or how unfair it was, then that person is still in control. The wise refuse to let a negative experience define their mindset. They acknowledge the pain, but they do not let it take root in their spirit. Detachment without bitterness means releasing the need for closure. Toxic people rarely offer apologies, and even if they do, their words are often empty. Waiting for an explanation, waiting for them to change, or waiting for justice only prolongs the attachment. Smart people do not waste time expecting accountability from those who lack self-awareness. Instead, they take responsibility for their own healing. They choose to move forward without needing validation from the person who hurt them. Letting go does not mean pretending the pain never happened. It means processing it in a way that leads to growth rather than resentment. The wise use every painful experience as a lesson, not a life sentence. They extract wisdom from the situation, recognize their own worth, and step forward with a stronger sense of self. They do not let toxic encounters make them hard or guarded. Instead, they use them as fuel to become wiser, more discerning, and more intentional about the people they allow into their lives. Forgiveness is not about excusing the other person's behavior. It is about reclaiming personal peace. It does not mean reconciling with toxicity or allowing someone back into their life. It simply means refusing to let bitterness be the final outcome. The wise understand that forgiveness is not for the other person. It is for their own freedom. They detach, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. They choose to walk away in peace without looking back in anger, because they know that their destiny is too great to be weighed down by the past. Wisdom is more than knowledge. It is the ability to apply understanding in a way that leads to elevation. Smart people do not just go through experiences, they grow through them. They take lessons from pain, insight from failures, and clarity from challenges. They do not allow hardships to break them, but use them as stepping stones to something greater. Toxic people may have tried to block their path, but the wise turn every obstacle into an opportunity for growth. Elevation does not come from reacting to every distraction or engaging in every battle. The wise understand that their energy is too valuable to be wasted on meaningless conflicts. They choose their fights carefully, focusing only on what aligns with their purpose. They recognize that some situations are designed to steal time and drain strength. And they refuse to give power to anything that does not contribute to their growth. Wisdom teaches that not everyone can go where they are going. Elevation requires separation. The wise understand that some relationships, habits, and mindsets must be left behind in order to move forward. They do not cling to what no longer serves them. They release toxic people without regret, because they know that holding on to the wrong connections can delay their progress. They are not afraid to walk alone for a season if it means arriving at their destination whole and strong. Growth is intentional. The wise do not wait for success to find them. They position themselves for it. They invest in their minds, surround themselves with people who challenge them to rise higher and make decisions that align with their purpose. They do not allow the past to define them or let fear dictate their future. Instead, they use every experience. Toxic people operate in cycles, repeating the same destructive patterns over and over. But the wise learn, adapt, and evolve. They recognize that wisdom is not just about what they know, it is about how they apply it. They refuse to make the same mistakes twice. When they fall, they get back up with new insight. When they face rejection, they use it as redirection. Every setback becomes a setup for something greater, because they choose to extract the lesson rather than dwell on the loss.